Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into something darker than usual. We're moving from the comfort of quiet suburban hauntings to the vast, terrifying isolation of the deep sea. I want you to feel the chill of the Atlantic, the metallic taste of salt, and the unnerving realization that you are completely alone. The rain whispers against your window right now. The power hums low. Maybe a refrigerator buzzes in the kitchen. But tonight, all those normal sounds will feel distant because we're going somewhere where the rules of reality don't quite apply. If you hear knocking behind you, maybe it's just the house settling, or maybe it's the ocean knocking, ready to collect. Just ignore it. So, before you settle in, take a second to like the video and subscribe. But only if you're brave enough to handle what's coming. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. We're all in this dark space together. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe keep one candle burning. And let's begin tonight's haunting together. You receive the letter on a quiet Tuesday morning. It's thick, cream-colored, and smells faintly of ozone and old leather. The heading reads, The Argonaut Collective. The details are sparse, yet overwhelmingly appealing. Immediate appointment, double salary, offshore placement, platform Acheron, deep-sea crude extraction. You, the newly recruited engineer, are required to report to the departure dock within 48 hours. It feels less like a job offer and more like a summons. They don't care about your qualifications as much as your availability, your willingness to leave everything behind. You sign the stack of non-disclosure agreements without truly reading them. The fine print a blur of generic corporate language. Your contact, listed only as M. Vance, tells you the coordinates are classified. The platform is somewhere in the South Sea. The location is fluid, changing with currents and corporate necessity. You try to research the Argonaut Collective, but the results are generic, a holding company, nothing traceable. This is your first hint that things are going to be strange here. The ferry ride is endless. Days blur into nights, and the sea becomes an aggressive, endless black expanse. You watch the sun set, staining the water a shimmering sheet of gold. A final, beautiful, normal moment before you reach your destination. Then you see it. Acheron. It's a colossal thing, a metal island. It doesn't just sit on the water, it dominates it. It's built for storms, but it looks ancient, weathered by more than just high winds. As you approach, the overwhelming sound of the ocean is replaced by the mechanical hum of the rig. This isn't the romantic sound of the sea. It's the sound of machinery straining against a monumental, crushing pressure. You are met by a man named Elias. He is the second officer, thin, with eyes that seem to hold every sunrise and endless black night he's seen out here. He doesn't smile, just nods toward the ascent platform. Your new life begins immediately, without orientation or pleasantries. You quickly realize that the crew is transient. People don't stay long here. Some last weeks, others months. The turnover is high. You are told that the work is grueling, and the ocean is beautiful, yes, but also utterly unforgiving. You are now one of the unprepared rookies, and you feel the weight of Captain Jensen's written warning. Rig 32, or Acheron, as they call it now, is no place for the foolhardy. The air is thick with the smell of salt and oil. There is a constant, low, rhythmic vibration that permeates the structure, a sound you quickly learn to ignore, like the buzz of a refrigerator or the ticking of a clock, but sometimes it shifts. Sometimes that mechanical hum fades just slightly, and you hear something else, a low, resonant groan deeper than any metal stress, a sound that feels less like engineering and more like biology. It is rumored among marine engineers that large, deep-sea platforms can develop acoustic pareidolia, where the mixing of machinery sounds, wave slap, and wind can create the illusion of voices or cries. Researchers still argue whether it was real or simply mass hysteria when the crew of the Sea Sentinel oil platform abandoned their posts after reporting singing coming from the drill column. But you can feel that low groan reverberate in your bones. It doesn't sound like a song. It sounds like something enormous right beneath your feet. You settle into your bunk, noticing that many bunks are empty, though the room is large. The routine is immediate and demanding. Wake up, put on your gear, head out. You check gauges in the engine room, tighten bolts on the deck. It is physically exhausting, honest work. You crave the predictability of the shift, the rhythm. You need the exhaustion to drown out the growing silence in your head, the one that tells you you've made a terrible mistake. You try the food. To your surprise, the meals are hot, and the coffee is strong and actually good. The little comforts become lifelines. The crispy bacon at breakfast, the pizza nights on Friday. You learn to appreciate the little things because the big picture, this metal world in the endless black, is too much to face. You close your eyes. The constant noise of the rig, now an uncomfortable blanket. But the metallic groan, the one that feels alive, is still there, vibrating through the steel and into your spine. You wonder what it would sound like if the whole rig went silent. You hope you never find out. The unnerving comfort of the routine only lasts so long. You've been here 3 days, and already the isolation begins to wear on you. You feel the oppressive weight of the quiet inside your head, fighting to keep it from crushing you. On your first full day of work, you are called to the chief's office, an unremarkable space that smells of stale smoke and Colombian coffee. The chief, Captain Vance, no, not Jensen, but someone who carries the same hard-earned 40 years of sea life in his eyes, presents you with a small, round object. It is a silver compass badge. It's small, made of a polished metal that refuses to tarnish. On the front, it has a strange engraving, a kraken wrapped around an anchor. It's round, and though it should be a simple ID, you immediately notice that it's deeply engraved with what looks distinctly like a sea monster. This is your key, your ID, and your insurance, Vance says, his voice a gravelly whisper. You wear it at all times. No exceptions. You assume it's for identification or maybe an emergency beacon, but as you fasten the pin to your work jacket, you feel a faint, cool pulse radiating from the metal. It's more than a tradition. The rig operates under strange circumstances, Vance continues, looking at you with an intensity that borders on pity. Before you started, you signed the NDA. But true rules. They're not written down. You'll hear them from the veterans, piece by piece, until they become second nature. He leans in, his voice dropping to a near-silent hiss, forcing you to lean closer to the microphone in your helmet. This place is not for carelessness. People have been lost out here, some to the waves, others to things we don't talk about. You remember the ancient mariner's superstition that if you receive a silver charm before setting sail, it means you have already been claimed by the sea. But it simply hasn't bothered to take you yet. This pin feels less like protection and more like a tag. Vance gives you the first rule, the most vital one. You are told about the gargantuan entity beneath the platform. It's not violent, not yet, but it's huge. You don't want to get too close, and you certainly don't want it noticing you. The badge, he states, tapping his own pin, keeps you safe. It keeps it from noticing us. At least, that's what we believe. But the real, unwritten rule, he whispers, is this: never go through the red basement hatch. He explains that you might not even see it. It's not always there. When it appears, it's a heavy, rust-red door tucked away on the rig's lower levels, near the storage access. You could walk past the spot 100 times and see nothing, and then one day, it will simply be there. If you see it, you turn around. You don't touch the handle, don't linger. Curiosity is the one thing that will get you killed out here, Vance warns, his eyes dark. He doesn't need to give you the reason. The story of Marco, the welder who opened it and vanished, is already a ghost story whispered in the galley. Marco's body washed up weeks later during a storm, the sea giving back what it normally keeps. You are gripped by a sudden, intense wave of self-doubt, a phenomenon known as imposter syndrome, sometimes intensified by sensory deprivation. You're certain you don't belong. As Vance turns away, he pauses, looking out the tiny porthole. There are forces at work in the South Sea that defy logic and reason. I've seen things I can't explain. He pulls a map of the lower decks toward him. If you follow the rules, maybe, just maybe, you'll find your footing. You walk out with the badge pinned to your chest, the metal cool against your skin. You feel the constant vibration of the rig, the machinery struggling, and beneath it, that slow, resonant, biological groan. You look toward the lower levels, the image of that deep red hatch already imprinted in your mind. The rule is simple, absolute, and terrifying. Leave it alone. You start to understand why the turnover rate is so high. You just need to keep your head down and focus on the next shift. That's all you have. You find your rhythm. The work is physical and demanding, requiring total focus, which is a blessing. Out here, you live by routine. You spend a lot of time in the engine room, checking gauges, ensuring nothing explodes. The noise is a constant, deafening blanket that requires earplugs. Yet somehow, the silence of the ocean always seems to bleed through. One afternoon, you are assigned to maintenance on the lowest accessible perimeter platform, the one that dips precariously close to the water during high waves. You're tightening bolts, the steel slick with condensation, the spray of the relentless sea misting your face. You are alone, save for the rhythmic slosh of the waves against the rig's massive metal pontoons. you feel the low, guttural sound again, the one you can never quite place, the sound that might be the rig straining or that vast, unknown entity shifting beneath you. You instinctively check your badge. It's still securely fastened, radiating that faint, comforting coldness. Then you hear it. Not the metallic groan, not the waves. It is a sound that feels entirely out of place, utterly unnatural in this industrial expanse. Music, it's complex, a strange, flowing melody that sounds like a choir singing beneath the waves. It's too muffled to distinguish lyrics, yet it holds a deep, hypnotic sadness. It makes the hair on your arms stand up. It feels like the air itself is vibrating with the sound, like the rig is a giant tuning fork broadcasting a signal from the deep. This phenomenon, the siren's song from the depths, brings to mind the ancient Greek myth of the sirens, whose beautiful music lured sailors to their doom against treacherous rocks. The chilling fact about their song wasn't just its beauty, but that it was said to contain whatever the listener most desired, personalized to drive them mad with longing. Researchers still argue whether the folklore was an elaborate warning about powerful coastal currents or a psychological manifestation of extreme isolation and desire. Whatever it was, the pull of the sound now is almost overwhelming. You inch closer to the railing, straining to hear the source. You peer into the black water, but the rig's lights barely penetrate the gloom. It's liquid pitch below you, but then you catch a glimpse of movement, a flash of white against the black. It stops, and the music cuts off instantly, replaced by the silence of the waves and the mechanical hum of the rig. You stand there, your heart pounding against the silver badge. Did you hear it? Was it a hallucination, a trick of the acoustics? You look around, but no one else is on the platform. The isolation can wear on a man. You pull yourself away, trying to focus on the work. But the melody has wormed its way into your mind. You suddenly understand the terrifying power of the vastness out here. You realize you're not surrounded by emptiness. You're surrounded by something full, ancient, and entirely incomprehensible. You continue your rounds, tightening bolts. The physical exertion helps ground you. You head up to the cafeteria for a strong coffee. The veterans are there, their faces etched with 40 years of watching the sun rise and fall over this endless water. You want to ask about the sound, about the singing, but you stop yourself. You are here to fill in the gaps that don't make it into the safety manuals. You are here to learn the unwritten rules. The unwritten rule about strange music is you never mention it. You carry the isolation without letting it crush you. You pour your coffee, noting that the beans are still Colombian, a true luxury out here. You lean against the railing, watching the shimmering surface. The sea looks calm now, serene. You can almost forget the music, the groan, the absolute terror of the deep. But as you look closer, you notice a single, tiny pinprick of light reflecting on the water. It makes no sense. The sky is too overcast for stars, but it reminds you that the beauty out here should always be questioned. You force yourself to drink the coffee. It's hard, but it's honest work, and you have to survive the next shift. You've started carrying the memory of the music, like a secret stone in your gut, heavy and cold. The quiet satisfaction of the hard work is now overshadowed by the fear of what you might hear next. You try to stick to the routines, checking the engine room, maintenance on the upper deck. One night, the air is heavy with the promise of a storm. You finish your shift and head up to the observation deck for a breath of the open air. The clouds are thick, blocking out the moonlight and every single star. The ocean is black, an absolute void. You look at the dark water, remembering the music, remembering the captain's chilling anecdote about how he now avoids looking at the water too much because he never knows what's staring back. You lean against the railing and you see them. Tiny, scattered dots of light on the water below you. They shimmer like a second, impossible sky. At first, your rational mind dismisses them as reflections from the rig's interior lights, but they don't move with the waves. They are fixed, unnervingly still, like stars pinned to a black canvas. The realization hits you with a punch of cold dread. The sky above is completely masked by storm clouds. There is nothing to reflect. They are not stars. They are eyes. Dozens of them, maybe more, spread across the surface, all staring up at the rig. You feel a primordial terror grip you, the same terror Captain Vance felt 40 years ago. You are not alone. You are being watched by something vast, submerged, and curious. The terror brings to mind the deep-sea folklore of the Akulujusi, Inuit sea creatures described as massive, cyclopean beings that live in the abyssal zones. The frightening part of the Akulujusi is not their violence, but their immense size and passive, unknowable awareness. They are so huge, they can perceive the world in geological time. Researchers still argue whether these stories served to reinforce caution in the fragile sealskin boats, or if they were the cultural memory of observing deep-sea gigantism. Your mind tries to rationalize the dots. Perhaps they're bioluminescent plankton, a natural phenomenon. But the stillness, the sheer number, and the clear intent of the gaze completely shatter your skepticism. You stumble backward, your throat tight. You don't wait to see if they blink or move. You turn and run, your boots pounding against the metal deck, the sound deafening in your helmet. You don't look back. You hide in the relative safety of the engine room until your shift ends. The metallic hum, a welcome noise now, a shield against the silence of the sea. The next day, you find yourself staring at the windows of the control tower, specifically the one belonging to the captain. You learn that the captain's room remains empty. It's not locked, but no one enters. It is maintained as a sealed exhibit, a memorial. The previous captain vanished without a trace decades ago. No warning, no sign of struggle, just gone. The crew searched everything, but he left no footprint. The room is empty not out of superstition, but out of a deeper, more unsettling respect. You realize the man who disappeared was likely the one who started the rule about the silver badge. He's a mystery, one of many on Acheron. Later that afternoon, a heavy fog rolls in, reducing visibility to almost nothing. You're on the upper deck, securing some loose lines, your silver badge a cold weight on your chest. The fog, thick and unnaturally quiet, amplifies the noise of the rig. You glance out at the dense gray curtain, the kind of weather where even the sound of the ocean seems muffled. And then you see it, a break in the fog, a massive shape in the distance. It's a ship, impossibly large and silent. It looks like something dredged from a history book, tattered sails, a wooden hull covered in barnacles. It moves with an unnatural smoothness, cutting through the heavy waves like a phantom. You check the radar, but it's clean. The ship is not there. It's the Flying Dutchman. Every man and woman out here knows the legend. The captain cursed to sail for eternity. You scan the decks of the spectral vessel. There is no one on board, not a single soul. A fellow crewmate, his face pale and etched with fear, appears beside you. You look at him. He looks at you. Neither of you needs to say a word. You both see it. You both think the same thing, Davy Jones. You know the rule instinctively. You don't call out. You don't wave. You keep your head down, you do your job, and you hope it keeps moving. This silent terror reminds you of a strange psychological effect known as the uncanny valley, where things that are almost human or almost real, like a ghost ship that looks perfectly detailed, yet has no crew, or the salt statues you haven't seen yet, trigger a deep-seated, instinctive revulsion, because they violate our expectations of reality. Researchers still argue whether the phenomenon is purely visual or linked to the brain's mirror neurons anticipating interaction that never comes. The ship glides past, a ghost in the fog, and vanishes as silently as it appeared. The fog rolls back in, and you are left with the metallic hum and the overwhelming, terrifying presence of the deep. You realize you have just passed a test. You kept your silence, and you are, for now, safe. The routine has become a strained muscle, pulling tighter with every passing day. The physical demands of the work are the only thing keeping the deeper psychological terrors at bay. You are constantly up top, clearing debris or tightening bolts, acutely aware of the water below. The sunsets are still beautiful, but they are now a source of dread. They paint the sky and sea with streaks of orange and pink, turning the water into a shimmering gold. But every sunset means the coming of the endless black night, the time when the eyes may return, and the ghost ship might choose to appear. A brutal, unpredictable storm hits Acheron. The waves are monumental, slamming against the rig like a fist trying to pull it under. The wind howls, the rain pounds in sheets. You are strapped in, fighting to secure equipment. It is a terrifying reminder of how small you are. You don't step out onto the deck unless you have a death wish. When the storm finally passes, hours later, the sea calms down with an unnerving speed. The crew emerges, exhausted, their clothes smelling of oil and wet metal. You start clearing the deck, surveying the damage, and then you see them. They are not always in the same place, but they are always there after the massive storms. The salt husks, figures made entirely of salt. They stand on the deck, rigid, like they were carved by the waves themselves. At first, you think it's just the accumulation of sea salt spray, an odd erosion, but then you notice the details: arms, legs, torsos, and faces. They are horribly, unmistakably human faces. The detailing is sickeningly precise, creases in the skin, wrinkles around the eyes, but it's the mouths that solidify the terror. They are always open, fixed in a silent, agonizing scream. Some have hands outstretched, reaching for something, or perhaps reaching away from whatever created them. They are frozen in their final, terrifying moments. This immediately recalls the fate of Lot's wife from biblical lore, who was turned into a pillar of salt after looking back at the destruction of Sodom. This ancient act of transformation from flesh into mineral serves as a potent warning against nostalgia, or defying a higher, incomprehensible power. Researchers still argue whether the story was a cautionary tale against disobedience, or a literal account of finding a naturally occurring salt formation resembling a human shape near the Dead Sea. You remember the rule. You do not touch them. You do not talk about them. You just work around them, trying to avoid their screaming faces. You take it as a warning, a stark reminder of the ocean's capability. It gives, it takes, and sometimes it leaves things behind that you'd rather not think about. A psychological study on extreme conditions describes hysterical conversion, where unbearable stress is converted into a physical or pseudo-physical phenomenon. Could the salt husks be a physical manifestation of the crew's unspoken terror and loss, the crystallized grief of the men taken by the waves? You find yourself watching your fellow crewmates. They avoid the husks with professional, practiced indifference, their eyes flicking away the moment they catch sight of a screaming salt figure. By midday, the heat and the constant wind begin to work on them. They dissolve back into the sea mist or are blown away. But they will always return after the next massive storm. You ask yourself 100 times where they come from, but the answer is always the same. You don't know, and maybe it's better that way. As you work, you notice something else washed up onto the deck. A fish. It's small, sleek, and black. At first glance, it looks unremarkable, like any deep-sea catch, but the sight of it sends a cold spike of recognition through you. This is one of those fish. You know the next rule. Leave them alone. Don't touch them. Don't keep them as a trophy. If you catch one, throw it back immediately. You step around it, careful not to even brush it with your boot. But a rookie nearby, clearly new and oblivious, spots it. He bends down, his curiosity outweighing his caution. The rookie is named Silas, a young man with a loud laugh and a dangerously skeptical mind. He ignores your quick, sharp warning, a mere shake of the head, and picks up the black fish. "Look at this beauty," he shouts, laughing, holding it up like it's a prize. The fish, though dead, is unnervingly heavy. It's a deep, non-reflective black. Silas grins, shaking it lightly. You can feel the eyes of the veterans on the deck, a collective, silent disapproval. "Throw it back, Silas," you order, your voice low and urgent. He just laughs harder. "What? Is it cursed, Captain? Come on." He starts to make a joke about the company logo. Then, out of misplaced curiosity, or perhaps sheer arrogance, he decides to inspect it closer. He pries the fish's mouth open. He freezes. The laughter dies instantly. The smile slides off his face, replaced by a look of sheer, stomach-churning horror. You remember the warning you read. The fish are not normal, not even close. They don't have sharp, jagged teeth like a shark. They have human teeth, straight, a little yellowed, but undeniably human. The sight of that perfect, unsettlingly familiar human dentition in the mouth of a sleek, black deep-sea creature is enough to make your skin crawl. It's the ultimate violation of natural order. Silas drops the fish as if it's on fire. It clatters onto the metal deck, and he stumbles backward, muttering incoherently. He stays out there, staring at the fish, and then at the water, for an unnerving length of time. The fish, still on the deck, looks harmless, almost comical, but the image of those teeth is now locked in your memory. Later that night, the inevitable happens. You hear screaming. It's Silas. He's found curled up in the corner of his bunk, sobbing and muttering nonsense. He is clutching his arm, insisting it's burning, though his skin is cold. The next morning, he's gone. Off the rig, back to shore, officially for medical reasons. He didn't stay long after that. No one ever does. The event serves as a brutal lesson. The less you poke at the mysteries out here, the safer you'll be. You now carry the memory of the salt husks and the fish teeth, two horrors the sea left behind. Your badge, the silver pin, is a constant, cold presence. You realize that the badge is a connection to whatever forces keep this rig afloat. A skeptical phrase crosses your mind. A classic case of mass psychosomatic illness, where extreme isolation and collective terror manifest physical symptoms. The belief in cursed objects, a phenomenon found across most cultures, often dictates the outcome more than the object itself. But when you look at the deck where the fish landed, you see a faint, perfectly preserved, dark outline of the creature, a residue that can't be easily wiped away. You head to the captain's mess for dinner. It's Friday pizza night. The food is good, the toppings generous. It's the little things that keep morale up. You sit with Vance. He looks tired, his eyes focused on the far horizon. You decide to press him gently about the disappearance of the old captain. Was he a good man, you ask. Vance takes a long pull of his coffee. The best, fair, hardworking, the kind of leader people respected. He confirms the story. One day he was running the rig, the next he wasn't. No note, no struggle, just gone. The room stays empty now, Vance murmurs, out of respect. But then he adds the detail that sends a fresh wave of dread through your core. He tells you that on calm nights, when the rig is quiet, some crew members report seeing a man out on the observation deck. He's always standing by the railing. He is wearing a distinctive yellow jacket, and he is always smoking a cigarette. If you get close enough, you'll see the silver pin, the same one you wear, fastened to his chest. This man, the Yellow Gaze, is believed by some to be the old, missing captain, still watching over Acheron. Others believe he is something else entirely, a reminder of the ocean's ownership. You suddenly remember the empty room, the years of respectful emptiness. You remember the crew's unspoken knowledge. Vance tells you the protocol. It's another unwritten rule, stricter than any safety manual. The legend of the Yellow Gaze is now a part of your reality. a new, chilling layer of dread added to the constant hum of the rig. You know, the first time you hear the story, you dismiss it as a joke. A ghost story told to spook the rookies, but the sight of the fish with human teeth and the screaming salt husks has eroded your skepticism entirely. Vance relays the protocol, the unwritten law of the observation deck. It's a precise ritual of acknowledgement and retreat, the rule of the yellow gaze. If you see him, you must say something. Acknowledge him. Be polite. Do not linger. Do your job and move on. Do not return to the observation deck for 3 days. Some people disappear after seeing him, not often, but enough for the rule to be absolute. Marco, the welder who opened the red hatch, saw him before he vanished. A deckhand named Vic ignored the 3-day rule, went back the very next night, and was gone by morning. This chilling protocol closely mirrors the Irish folklore surrounding the banshee, a female spirit whose wailing warns of an impending death in the family. The rules for dealing with the banshee: never approach, never interfere, and certainly never speak to it unless necessary, are an intricate attempt to navigate a prophecy of doom. Researchers still argue whether the banshee stories are a cultural memory of ritualized mourning customs or a manifestation of shared anxiety in times of high mortality. Your skepticism is utterly defeated when you see him for yourself. It's a calm night, the sea so still it looks like glass. The stars, impossibly, stretch out forever. Unlike the night you saw the eyes, you need a break, a smoke, a minute of solitude. You head up to the observation deck. At first, you think you're alone. But then, there he is, a man in a yellow jacket, standing with his back to you, staring out at the water. He is utterly motionless. The small, red glow of his cigarette is the only sign of his presence. He is just standing there, waiting for something, or perhaps for someone. Your blood runs cold. Your silver badge feels like a lead weight. You know you have to speak. You swallow, your throat dry. Good evening, you manage to whisper, feeling foolish and terrified at once. He turns his head just slightly. You catch the outline of his face in the dim light. It is indistinct, shadowy. But you see the glint of the silver pin on his jacket. He is acknowledging you. He doesn't speak. He doesn't move. He simply nods back, takes a drag from his cigarette, and returns his gaze to the endless water. He won't answer, but that's not the point. The point is to show respect. The air is heavy with his silent presence. You feel like a trespasser in an ancient, sacred space. You stand for 1 minute, maybe less, unsure what to do next. The pressure is suffocating. You turn and walk away quickly, but without running. You keep the terror locked behind your teeth. You didn't linger. You won't return to the deck for 3 days. It's safer that way. As you descend, you realize you are shaking. You pass the galley and grab a cup of hot coffee. Not for you. You remember the captain's strange, small ritual. You quietly return to the deck, leaving the fresh coffee on the railing. It's an offering, a small act of deference to something you don't understand. When you check later, the cup is empty. You tell yourself the wind took it, but you know that's not what you believe. This silent encounter leaves you feeling deeply unnerved, a psychological state often linked to hypnagogic hallucinations in sleep-deprived deep-sea workers, where the brain, lacking external stimuli, generates vivid, silent figures. Researchers still argue whether the yellow gaze is a shared hallucination or a literal entity of the rig, sustained by the crew's collective belief and fear. You are now a veteran, carrying the burden of this horrifying knowledge. You understand the depth of the mystery here. You have seen the man in the yellow jacket. You have followed the rules. But the sight has activated something deep inside you, a new, consuming curiosity about the things that are not written down. What exactly is behind that red basement hatch? The memory of the yellow gaze is persistent, a cold knot in your stomach. You've been on Acheron long enough now that the sounds of the rig, the hum, the clanging of metal have truly become background noise. But you are hyper-aware of any shift, any pause, especially the low, agonizing groan from the structure beneath you. It's been 4 days since you saw the man in the yellow jacket. You've avoided the observation deck entirely, feeling a morbid relief that you adhered to the rule, unlike poor Vic. You are assigned to inventory in the lower levels, near the stairs that lead to deep storage. This area is dark, damp, and smells intensely of brine and rust. You shine your light around, checking crates, your silver badge securely fastened. You could walk past this spot 100 times and never see it. But today, it is simply there, the red basement hatch. It's a heavy, rust-red door, massive, and seemingly welded into the steel wall. It has a thick, circular handle and no visible hinges or frame, giving it the appearance of a massive ship's porthole that was sealed off and painted over. It wasn't here yesterday. It wasn't here this morning. Now, it stands out like a massive, bloody wound on the cold gray metal. The sight of it triggers an immediate, visceral response. Pure, paralyzing dread. Your training, your survival instinct, and Vance's chilling warning all scream at you. Turn around and leave. Do not linger. But the yellow gaze has changed you. The salt husks and the human-toothed fish have broken your sense of reality. You are now one of the young, perhaps too bold rookies. The curiosity, the kind that Vance warned would get you killed, is a sharp, agonizing ache in your chest. Why is it here? Who built it? Why does it come and go? You take a shaky step closer, shining your light on the thick, circular handle. You remember Marco, the good guy, the welder, who opened it and paid the ultimate price. You remember that the sea doesn't give back what it takes. Yet Marco was returned, sprawled out cold on the deck. You feel an intense, almost physical pressure, similar to the phenomenon of Foley, a due shared psychotic disorder, where two people experience the same delusion. Out here, in this metal cage, the entire crew is afflicted with the delusion that the rig is alive, that the rules are real, and that the red door is a threat. Researchers still argue whether folia due is a true disease or a failure of the healthy person to logically resist the dominant narrative of the mentally ill person in isolation. But in this moment, you are fully in the delusion. You stand there for too long. You linger. The longer you stare at the heavy red seal, the more it feels like a challenge. You think about Vance, who admitted he didn't always follow the rules when he was young. He had a streak of rebellion. He confessed that one night, when the door appeared, he decided to see for himself. He went inside, and he came back. If he could do it, you reason, so can you. It is a stupid thought, an adrenaline-fueled act of defiance against the crushing rules of this place. You reach out your gloved hand, your heart hammering. Your fingers wrap around the cold, heavy handle. You know, even as you begin to turn it, that this is the point of no return. The handle resists for a fraction of a second, then gives way. You brace yourself for the rush of water, for the sound of an alarm. The door groans on its hinges, a horrible, metallic shriek of protest as it opens. You step through the threshold, your light cutting into the blackness of the other side. You are immediately hit by a blast of air that is drastically colder than the rest of the rig. It is not a storage room. It is not an alarm station. It is a winding metal staircase that spirals downward, deeper than you thought the rig could possibly extend. The moment you take your first step down, the familiar sound of the rig's machinery, the constant, maddening hum, fades almost completely, becoming a muffled, distant drone. You are leaving Acheron and entering something else entirely, something colder, quieter, and infinitely more unsettling. The darkness welcomes you. You descend the spiraling staircase. Each step takes you further from the noise, the light, and the strained reality of Acheron. The air grows colder, a thick, pervasive chill that penetrates your work gear. You feel the pressure building around you. The water's crushing weight is suddenly tangible. The staircase seems endless, a black metal helix cutting through the void. You wonder how deep you are going, deeper than any blueprint would allow. Finally, your boot hits an uneven surface, signaling the bottom. You find yourself in a strange, narrow room. Your headlamp cuts through the absolute blackness, revealing walls made of thick, curved steel, slick with condensation and salt. The floor is warped, uneven, bearing the weight of the enormous ocean. There are no doors, save for the rust-red hatch behind you. No equipment, no tools, no signs that this room was built for any purpose other than to simply be. And then you see it. The entire far wall is dominated by a wide, circular window. It is massive, a sheet of impossibly thick glass that stares out into the ocean. You walk toward it, drawn by an irresistible, terrifying pull. You press your face against the cold glass. Outside the window is the deep. It is the blackness you saw from the observation deck. But here, it is total, immediate, and utterly vast. You are staring into the absolute, terrifying core of the deep sea. There are no pinpricks of light here. The darkness is immense, an endless pool of oil pressing in on the glass, testing its endurance. You feel a sense of profound cosmic horror, the realization that you are insignificant against the ancient forces at work in the South Sea. This moment, the absolute darkness punctuated by the impossible window, recalls the horror author H.P. Lovecraft's concept of non-Euclidean space, where physics and reason break down. Lovecraft's creatures often dwell in the deep, And the act of looking into that abyss causes a psychological fracture. Researchers still debate whether Lovecraft's descriptions were rooted in actual dreams or derived from the mathematical concept of curved space. But the terror is undeniably real. You stand there, mesmerized, waiting for something to emerge from the blackness. You remember the vast entity beneath the rig and the dozen eyes, but nothing comes. Only the endless, overwhelming black. The silence is broken only by the muffled, distant drone of the rig above you. The longer you stand, the more the cold presses in, and the stronger the feeling becomes. You do not belong here. This room is not a part of the rig. It is a tumor, an observation post for something else entirely. You fight the urge to stay and watch the void. You wonder about the captain who built it or left it behind. You wonder what Marco saw that night before he was taken. You realize the danger is not what you see through the window, but the fact that the door might vanish while you are still inside. It comes and goes on its own terms. Your internal monologue, the voice of pure reason, screams. Self-preservation is the primary human drive. Get out now. You pivot, turning your back on the terrifying window. You scramble up the stairs, feeling the cold recede only when you are halfway up. You burst back into the dark storage area. The red door is heavy, and you heave it shut, the groan of the hinges sealing your decision. You don't look back. You don't wait. You run. The next day, you return to the spot, shining your light. The door is gone. Just a smooth, solid wall of steel. You have only seen it once, and you vow to give it a wide berth forever. You survived the red hatch, but the darkness you saw through that window is now inside you, a new source of dread. You think about the gargantuan thing below the rig. When the rig groans, you can no longer tell if it is the machinery or that thing below letting out a low, guttural sound. The psychological shift in you is complete. You are no longer just an engineer. You are a survivor on Acheron. You look down at your silver badge. It's more than a piece of metal. It's your protection, your lifeline, and tonight, you'll need it more than ever, because the platform is about to test its true strength. The atmosphere on Acheron grows heavy, thick with unspoken knowledge and fear. The memory of the red hatch is a visceral, secret terror, making the routine a struggle. You are now hyper-aware of the rig's acoustics, listening for the deep groan. A huge storm begins to brew, the kind that makes everyone stay inside. The waves are towering, slamming against the rig. The wind howls, and the visibility drops to zero. You are on the main deck, strapped in, fighting the wind to secure the last of the equipment. A young rookie, barely 3 weeks on Acheron, loses his footing. He is a skeptic, one of the few who still tried to rationalize the salt husks and the yellow gaze. He wasn't wearing his badge. He thought it was ridiculous, an oversized corporate ID. He loses his grip on the railing and is swept over the side into the brutal, chaotic water. The waves toss him around like a rag doll. You and the other crewmates shout, throw ropes. But the current is too strong. He is doomed. You know it. To be in that water for long is a death sentence. Then, in the brief, terrifying light of a lightning strike, you see them. The dozen eyes are back, dotting the water's surface, illuminated by the flashes of the storm. They are fixed on the struggling rookie. And then, from the depths, something enormous emerges. A mouth. It is colossal, circular, and wide as half the rig. It is not filled with the sharp teeth of a natural predator. It is lined with rows and rows of human teeth, straight and yellowed, just like the fish that wash up on the deck. The mouth begins to suck in water, creating a massive whirlpool. Everything debris, water, the rookie is pulled toward it. The roar of the storm is suddenly overwhelmed by the deep, wet, sucking sound. The rookie is visibly struggling, his screams lost to the wind. This colossal entity, the Kraken's maw, with its unsettling human teeth, is the physical embodiment of the dark folklore of the sea. This immediately recalls the deep, almost forgotten myth of the Leviathan, often described as a chaotic sea monster of immense size that dominates the waters. But here, it is given a chilling, specific deformity that attacks the viewer's sense of sanity. Researchers still argue whether the Leviathan myth arose from sightings of massive, unknown marine life, or was a purely symbolic representation of the ocean's untamable power. The rookie, in his last moments of conscious terror, remembers the words of the veterans. He had scoffed at the badge, but now his hand shoots up to his empty chest. Then his eyes lock onto a veteran who is desperately trying to throw a line. The veteran quickly pulls off his own silver badge and tosses it into the churning, terrifying water. As the rookie is pulled closer to the enormous, toothed maw, the veteran's badge begins to glow. The light is intense, a beacon that cuts through the chaos of the storm. Out of nowhere, a creature of pure myth emerges, a kelpie. It rises from the waves, looking like a horse, but its mane is made of streaming seaweed, and its eyes are glowing with the same cool light as the badge. The rookie, in a final, desperate act, grabs onto the kelpie's neck and holds on for dear life. The kelpie fights the terrible pull of the whirlpool, its strength unreal. The kelpie manages to drag the rookie back toward the rig. You and the others haul him onto the deck. The creature doesn't linger. As soon as the rookie is safe, it vanishes beneath the waves, and with it, the Kraken's terrible mouth. The storm quiets almost immediately. The power that was unleashed seems satisfied and retreats to the depths. The rookie is safe, but he is traumatized, his skin cold as the metal beneath him. He will be gone by the next morning. You look at the veteran who threw his badge. He simply nods, his expression grim. He made a bet. He asked for help, and whatever is down there chose to answer. He doesn't know what he'll get in return, or if he'll get anything at all. It's a gamble you're not willing to take lightly. The rule is reaffirmed in your mind. Wear your badge. Keep it close. It is your connection to the forces that govern this terrifying place. The near loss of the rookie and the terrifying spectacle of the kelpie and the Kraken's maw have left you utterly spent. Your survival is now contingent on absolute adherence to the unwritten rules. Every movement is calculated, every task executed with grim precision. The hard, honest work is the only thing keeping the deeper psychological terrors at bay. You focus on the routine, You are in the upper deck, tightening bolts. The sunset is spectacular, streaks of pink and orange, but you only see the endless black night it promises. You realize that out here, beauty is something you must question. You've avoided the red hatch location, even after your secret descent. You know the danger of the door that comes and goes on its own terms. You never want to be caught on the wrong side of it again. One evening, you are back near the storage levels, performing a final check before your shift ends. You are shining your light on the wall where the red hatch had been. The steel is smooth, unbroken. You feel a small, cold wave of relief. The danger is not present. But then, you notice something else. It is a small, unmarked door, not the massive, rust-red one, but a standard, heavy steel door, tucked away in the shadows of the lower levels. You are certain it was not there before, yet it looks like it has been part of the rig since construction. You move toward it, your silver badge pulsing faintly on your chest. You look for a handle, but there is none. Only a small, round depression in the center of the door, exactly the size and shape of your badge. You remember Vance's words. The badges are also keys. Certain badges open doors that don't exist on any blueprint. Doors tucked away in the lower levels, where the rig descends deep into the water. Doors that lead to something no one talks about. Something that makes your gut twist. This immediate physical terror links to the concept of scotophobia, the morbid, intense fear of darkness, especially when the source of fear, like a monster or a threat, is known to be in the darkness. The discovery of the key door confirms that the rig has secrets, and the terror is now localized, accessible only by the cursed key on your chest. Researchers still argue whether scotophobia is an innate human response to predator threat or a learned cultural fear. You look down at your silver badge. It is engraved with a sea monster, a kraken. Do you insert the key? You realize that unlike the red hatch, this door is permanent. It is not a random, temporary phenomenon. It is part of the rig's purpose. No one talks about what's behind those doors. You fight the urge to know. You walk away, but you keep looking back. The psychological effect of the key door is profound. You are now aware that your own badge, your lifeline, is also the key to your potential doom. You find a quiet spot and try to rest. You hear the deep, agonizing groan again. It is not the sound of a ship breaking. It is the sound of something shifting, something alive, far beneath the metal. You try to distract yourself by thinking about the old captain who went missing. Perhaps he went through a door like this one. Perhaps the yellow gaze is simply waiting for his replacement to make the same mistake. You think about the memory echoes of the music, the eyes in the water, the screaming salt husks. You realize you've been collecting evidence, and all the evidence points to one conclusion. Acheron is not an oil rig. It is a trap. You close your eyes, the terrifying quiet of the rig pressing in. You know you must keep your sanity, keep the quiet from crushing you. But the constant, low-frequency vibration of the living structure makes that impossible. The key door haunts your thoughts. You have avoided the area, but the mere knowledge that your silver badge is capable of opening a hidden entrance is an unbearable pressure. You feel the rig groaning beneath you, a deep, guttural sound that has become more frequent. The whole structure feels strained. The isolation is absolute. You spend a lunch break looking out at the endless water. You see a perfect, uninterrupted horizon. There is no land, no other ship, just water and the metal cage of Acheron. You are completely at the mercy of the sea, which is as ancient as time itself. You are now in the deepest part of your narrative, where the boundaries between physical reality and psychological horror are gone. The pressure on the structure is immense, but you know the pressure is on you. You decide to visit the key door one last time before your next scheduled rest. You tell yourself you'll only look at the wall, but you know you're going to open it. You arrive at the shadowy corner of the lower levels. The plain metal door is exactly where you left it. You take a deep, shaky breath, the metallic smell of brine and oil filling your lungs. You unfasten your silver badge. It feels heavy and cold in your palm. You carefully place the badge into the circular depression. It slides in with a perfect, sickening click. The door doesn't open. Instead, a low, mechanical hum emanates from the surrounding wall. The steel groans, and a thin, green light flashes around the door's perimeter. The badge pulses violently in the slot, hot now, no longer cold. The door slides open with a sound like wet stone grinding against metal. Beyond it is a small, unlit chamber, smelling of deep-sea decay and ozone. It is not the spiraling staircase of the red hatch, but a flat, narrow hallway. The walls are not steel, but a smooth, jet-black material that absorbs your light. You step inside, retrieving your badge. The door slides shut behind you with a heavy thud. You are in absolute darkness. Your headlamp seems inadequate here. The noise of the rig is gone, replaced by a profound, echoing silence. You walk forward, and the pressure starts to climb. You feel it pressing on your ears, on your chest, the crushing weight of the water surrounding you. You realize you are standing in a part of the rig that is permanently submerged, deeper than the observation room of the red hatch. You are gripped by a primal fear, one that reminds you of the old Celtic folklore of the Tur, Na en Og, or the land of eternal youth, a mythical island that could only be reached by an intense journey across or beneath the sea. The travelers who reached it often returned centuries later, unable to reconcile their experiences with reality. Researchers still debate whether the myth was based on real, undiscovered islands, or simply a cultural expression of the desire to escape aging and mortality. The hallway opens into a larger space. As your light scans the room, you realize you are in a massive, cylindrical chamber. The black walls are covered in geometric carvings that seem to shift in the periphery of your vision. The center of the room holds a vast structure. It is not metal. It looks organic, a dense, fibrous, dark mass that pulses with a faint, internal light. You recognize the same unsettling black material from the hallway walls, and then you hear the singing again. It is the same hypnotic, complex music you heard before, but here it is clear and loud. It is not coming from the walls or the floor or the ceiling. It is coming from the central, pulsing mass. You realize with a sick certainty that this room is not a part of the rig. It is a part of the thing beneath the rig. The structure, the enormous entity, is using the rig as a host. The music washes over you, clear and overwhelmingly sad. A choir singing the lament of a million drowned souls. You are now inside the creature. The air is cold and thick, and the low, agonizing groan of the rig is now revealed to be the creature's own guttural sound. A slow, biological rhythm. You stare at the central pulsing mass, realizing this chamber is a vital organ, an impossible space deep beneath the waves. The geometric carvings on the black, fibrous walls are not decoration. They look like veins or nerve clusters, slowly shifting and adjusting to the constant pressure. You are witnessing a terrifying reality. Acheron, the colossal metal island, is not built on something. It is built around something. The rig is a parasitic shell, or perhaps a protective casing, keeping the gargantuan entity beneath the waves from noticing the humans who work on its back. This is the meaning of the yellow gaze, the salt husks, the fish with human teeth. These are not random phenomena. They are the creature's effluvia, the waste products or side effects of its massive, incomprehensible life cycle. The yellow gaze is a biological anomaly, a warning sign to those who linger. The salt husks are shed skin, or perhaps the remnants of those the creature has consumed. You are experiencing a moment of profound cognitive dissonance. The psychological discomfort experienced when holding contradictory beliefs simultaneously. You know the rig is steel and technology, but you are seeing, hearing, and feeling that it is biological. Researchers still argue whether cognitive dissonance is purely a psychological coping mechanism, or if it can induce physical stress. For you, the answer is a cold, clammy certainty. You realize that the badges do more than keep it from noticing us. They also serve as a tribute. The badges are not keys for the doors on the blueprint. They are an offering, a way to keep the creature placated. The Kelpie came for the rookie when the badge was thrown in as a bet, an acceptance of a small, momentary debt. You quickly place your hand on the central pulsing mass. It feels strangely warm. You look at the geometric patterns, and you suddenly understand the carvings are a language. Not a written one, but a complex biomechanical script. As you stare, the chamber begins to change. The carvings move faster. The faint internal light flickers, and the central mass begins to writhe. The singing intensifies, shifting from sad lament to a high, terrifying shriek. Above you, you hear a sound far louder than the usual hum, metal shrieking. The rig is moving. The thing is noticing you. You have broken the ultimate rule. Do not poke at it. The walls of the chamber begin to constrict. The floor buckles under your feet, warped by an enormous internal pressure. You hear the sound of stressed steel ripping far above you. The sound of the rig breaking apart. You have to get out. You run back toward the entrance, scrambling for the door. Your silver badge is hot against your palm, a blazing beacon of danger. You realize that the only escape is through the door you just came through. But as you fumble to insert the badge, the doorway begins to shrink. The black, fibrous material closing in, swallowing the metallic frame. The pressure on the structure is monumental, and the only path out is collapsing. You slam the badge into the slot. It locks with a final, violent click. The door slides open just enough for you to squeeze through. You hear the creature's internal groan, a massive, furious thrum as you escape. You scramble out, the smooth metal door closing behind you. You don't stop to check if the door vanishes. You run through the storage areas, back up the stairs, and into the relative, though rapidly diminishing, safety of Acheron. You are no longer an engineer on an oil rig. You are an organism trying to survive on the skin of an impossibly vast, living beast. The whole structure is vibrating now, and the sound of the metal stretching is deafening. You know the beast is hunting. You make it back to the upper deck, gasping for breath. The sound of tearing metal, a terrifying symphony above the storm's natural roar. The air is thick with ozone and fear. The entire rig is shuddering violently, not from the waves, but from an internal stress. The creature is no longer a low groan, it is a scream. You clutch your silver badge, which is still radiating heat. The other crew members are scrambling, not in panic, but in a frantic, resigned effort to secure the now warping structure. They all know. They all hear the truth of the sound. The metallic taste in your mouth is fear, compounded by the knowledge that you unleashed this fury. You look out at the water, and you see the eyes, dozens of them, watching the rig tear itself apart. You realize the ultimate, terrifying purpose of the badge. It is a token, a marker, and a debt. You find Vance on the bridge, his face ashen but controlled. He knows where you went. His eyes accuse you of your curiosity. You went down there, he says, his voice flat. It's not a question. You nod. Then you know, he whispers. You know why the captain vanished. He saw it all too, and he made a choice. Vance tells you the final, unwritten rule, the only way to stop the creature's violent reckoning, once its attention has been drawn, is to pay the debt. The payment is a gift, a life for a life. This horrific final ritual brings to mind the ancient practice of scapegoating, where a member of a community is ritually cast out or sacrificed to carry away the sins, debts, or misfortunes of the whole group. The fact that the crew has institutionalized this horrific transaction suggests a deep, collective psychological defense mechanism against the overwhelming reality of their predicament. Researchers still argue whether scapegoating is a purely sociological tactic, or if it stems from an innate human desire to assign blame and restore order. You look around at the frantic crew. They are not looking at each other, but at you. You are the rookie who broke the rule. You are the one who poked the thing. You are the debt, but you are holding the silver badge, the badge that is your only chance at survival. Vance points to the highest point of the observation deck. The old captain left a protocol. We have to follow it. He's earned that much, he says. You realize the final, horrifying meaning of the yellow gaze. He is not waiting for his replacement. He is waiting for the next payment. You look down at your badge. You have a choice. Toss the badge into the water to try and summon a kelpie for a dangerous, uncertain rescue, or ascend, and complete the final ritual. You look toward the yellow gaze's usual spot, the observation deck. The structure is already heavily stressed. You see the faint glint of the silver pin on the railing, a small, dark silver pin glinting in the light. You ascend the steps to the observation deck. The wind is deafening. The noise of the creature's rage is a physical force. You reach the railing, the highest, coldest point of the entire colossal structure. There is no one there, but on the railing, the silver pin is waiting. It is the old captain's. You look at the black, churning water. You look up at the black sky. You realize that in this moment of pure terror, you are alone. The massive, circular mouth of the creature does not appear, but the water begins to churn violently, creating a whirlpool right beneath the rig's support columns. You feel the whole platform beginning to tilt. You know what you have to do. You unfasten your own silver badge. You hold it next to the old captain's on the railing. It is your offering. You stand on the highest deck, the wind and the creature's sonic rage tearing at your clothes. You hold your silver badge next to the old captain's on the railing. The water below is a terrifying, churning maelstrom, the center of the whirlpool. You have to make the payment now. You make a terrifying realization. One last, cold drop of dread. The captain's ritual was not to offer himself. It was to offer his badge. The badge is the vessel of the soul, the thing that keeps the entity placated. You gently nudge the old captain's pin with yours. It falls from the railing, a tiny flash of silver against the black water. Nothing happens. The churning intensifies. The beast is not satisfied. You realize the protocol has shifted. The yellow gaze ritual was a form of emotional contagion, a psychological loop where the fear of the crew reinforced the need for the tribute. But you, the one who saw the heart of the beast, must pay the new, steeper price. You are the one who woke the creature. You are the debt. You close your eyes and throw your own silver badge into the swirling blackness below. As it hits the water, the chaos stops. Instantly, the violent churning smooths out. The immense, guttural groan of the creature ceases. The wind drops to a mild breeze. The sudden silence is far more terrifying than the noise. It is over. The debt is paid. You look down at the black water, watching the small ripple where your badge disappeared. You are safe. The rig is safe. The creature is placated, but you are also badgeless. You are no longer under the protection of the entity's strange, brutal contract. You are an anomaly, an untreated variable. This is the ultimate, horrifying truth of Acheron. You can be taken by the waves, or you can be claimed by the thing below. But you cannot exist here without a contract. You have paid the debt, but you are also now debt-free and unprotected. You remember the old captain's room, left empty for decades. You walk back down, your boots silent on the deck. The crew avoids your eyes. They know what happened. They know you saved them. And they know you are now completely unprotected. You survive the rest of your shift. You eat your meals. The work is hard, but you are alive. You are haunted by the certainty that the ocean is full of strange things, things you'll never understand. When your mandatory rotation period is complete, you take the ferry back to shore. You don't look back at Acheron, the colossal metal island in the endless black. You step onto solid ground for the first time in months. The world is too bright, too loud, too normal. You feel the soft pull of the quiet life you left behind. You try to inherit your father's knack for building, but you are now a man of the sea, a part of something bigger than yourself. You know you can't escape. You are the only one who knows the truth of the rig. You sit down and begin to write your guide for the next rookie. You write about the coffee, the sunsets, and the feeling of quiet satisfaction, but mostly you write about the rules. The red hatch, the yellow gaze, the fish, the salt husks, the badges. You finish the guide, leaving it for the company to find. A final duty, a duty to the greenhorns. As you finish the final page, you feel a faint, cool pulse against your chest. You look down. There is a small, round spot where your shirt has been pinned for months. You realize you left the one thing you shouldn't have. The sea doesn't give back what it takes. But sometimes she leaves you things you'd rather not think about. And sometimes she sends a summons for you to return. You look at the blank sheet of paper in front of you. You pick up the pen. You begin to draw a perfect circle, the same size as your lost silver badge. The circle is perfectly etched with what looks distinctly like a sea monster, a kraken. The ocean is vast, ancient, and filled with mysteries we'll never fully understand, and she is calling you home. The hum of the rig is a memory now, replaced by the mundane, predictable rhythm of your old life. The cold of the deep is gone, replaced by the soft warmth of your home. You are safe. You survived the terrifying sights, the human teeth, the screaming salt, the yellow jacket. They are just stories now, safely locked in the pages of the guide you wrote, meant to keep the next person safe. You did your duty. I hope tonight's story was a welcome distraction from whatever darkness may be outside your window. The key is to remember that the things that scare us most are the things we can't explain. But out here, in the light, everything has a reason. Let the silence of your home be a comfort now. Take a deep breath. Focus on the familiar sounds around you, the creak of the floorboards, the distant traffic, the gentle settling of your house. There is no endless water, no silent, enormous beast, and no terrifying, rust-red door. You are here. You are safe. The connection is severed. You can let the tension go. Thank you for listening tonight. It means the world. End of script. Sleep peacefully, if you can. It means the world. End of script. Sleep peacefully, if you can.